Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Courage Conversation Show. I'm your host, Ashley Easter. I'm the founder and executive director of Courage 365, and boy, do we have a great show for you tonight. This is our season 3 premiere. Yes, that is right. We are on season 3 of the Courage Conversation Show, and we have so many amazing speakers lined up for this season. And tonight we're actually going to be talking about a new project that we are launching for abuse survivors inside our community. We're going to be talking to Megan Benninger, and I'm going to go ahead and just read her bio really quickly. Probably a lot of you are already familiar with Megan. She is prolific in the advocacy world here online on social media, but I'm going to go ahead and read her bio just so you can get to know a little of her background. So Megan Benninger is a mom of 5. She is a truth teller, a cult survivor, a spiritual abuse victim advocate, a whistleblower, a Limes warrior, and a published poet. And we're going to have a great conversation tonight. We're actually bringing Megan Benninger in partnership with Courage 365 to launch a new project. And I'm going to tell you all about that right after these messages.
Talk about it. I was told not to talk about it.
So I'm here to talk about it.
Because I can't stay quiet.
I was able to break my silence.
Because of those who refuse to stay quiet.
I am a businesswoman.
Activist.
Survivor.
Survivor. Survivor.
Hey everyone, we are back with the Courage Conversation Show, and I'm here with our special guest, Megan Benninger. Hey Megan, how are you doing today?
Hi, good. How are you, Ashley?
I am doing so good, and I am thrilled that you're going to be on the show tonight. I have been waiting for this for a long time. You know, I've thought about having you on the show before, and the stars just kind of aligned now because you're also partnering with us on a project that we'll tell everybody about in just a few minutes. But I read off your bio, and it just really was the tip of the iceberg. I wondered if you could give us a nutshell version of who you are and what you do in the advocacy space.
Sure. I do have a lot. I grew up in a very fundamentalist Christian school and church, but the school I feel like had the most influence on me. And at the root, it was independent fundamental Baptist. It was called non-denominational, but that was all, most of the staff and everything were independent fundamental Baptist. So it was a very rigid upbringing, a lot of rules. And I really think that primed the pump for me to really become a victim of a lot of spiritual abuse, because I was taught to always obey my authorities. I was very authoritarian. And it just I was always to be in submission because I was the woman. You're in submission to men, and especially your husband. And it really, I feel like I had low self-confidence from that, and just feeling like, I was primed to be the obeyer. And so when I went to college, was not a big jump, I guess, that I got involved in a cult with my husband while we were dating at the time. And we were in that, and it was like a real deal cult. At the end, people were starting to move in together, the whole 9 yards. And we got out after like 2.5 years, but we jumped right into another spiritually abusive church that was a charismatic, non-denominational church. And I won't, obviously get into all the details, but also spiritually abusive. We were there 7 years. Then we floundered for a year and just kind of hid in another charismatic church in the back for a while because we knew we needed to leave the other one. We didn't know where we wanted to end up, but we ended up because we felt like the cult had been charismatic and then the non-denominational church had been charismatic. And so we were like, well, maybe we need to just get back to the fundamentals. Maybe we give me a pipe organ and a King James Bible and everything will be great, right? No more woo, or, I don't know what we were thinking. We thought maybe it would be a different direction. And it's still abusive. So we just found almost any atmosphere we ended up in, ended up long-term being abusive. So that church was a Southern Baptist church. And we were there for 12 years. And at the end of the 12 years, I started having panic attacks in the services, just very sudden. Like, we knew there was a little bit of tension in the leadership of the church, but we didn't know any of the details. Everything was very hush-hush. There were a lot of sermons on not gossiping and forgiving without knowing all the details. And we're like, what is going on? And my body knew before our brains did. Like, my body would shut down. Like, I would just have to leave, walk outside. And so this happened for, I don't know, a month or so. And I finally said to Dom, I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to leave this church for my health. I cannot go. And please, you take the kids, whatever. I just can't do it. Because I would get in these panic modes and I couldn't settle down till like Tuesday sometimes. It was really bad. So Dom said, thankfully, no, whatever we do, we're doing together. If you can't do it, none of us are doing it. We'll find somewhere else. So he sent an email that night and we stepped down from he was worship leader. I was a nursery director. And after we were gone for about 2 months, I believe, this is a long story, so I won't get into how exactly, but I discovered that one of the pastors, who is now the head pastor of the church, was actually a convicted child molester. And it just blew our minds. We're like, how can this happen? And he was the superintendent of the church-run school. And you just think, this can't be legal. This can't. Somehow it was legal, actually. And so we blew the whistle, took a lot of flack from the church. We got, I would say, like, shunned, and just a lot of harassment. We were doxxed on Twitter. We were stalked a little bit, sent nasty emails. Things would show up on our front porch. Like, it was just really bizarre. And you think, really, the church? This is our sweet little Baptist church. We loved everyone. It was a family. How is this happening? It's really rocked our worlds, but that is ongoing. We actually ended up having a USA Today story written about that happening there, and it's called "The Tongue is a Fire," and it's USA Today. I think if you just Google "The Tongue is a Fire Baptist," it'll come up, and that tells really the whole story of that incident. And after that happened, well, actually, while the story was being written, which took 6 months, I didn't realize those things took so long. While that was happening, the pastor who had been convicted moved on and was preaching at another church 20 minutes down the road. And some of the other pastors who had enabled and covered up were trying to get other jobs as pastors. And we felt like us and one other couple from the church were constantly like fielding all this and trying to warn these churches. And oh my goodness, we can't follow these people around our whole lives. Like, what are we going to do? And they're not held accountable. Obviously, it's a big deal out in Southern Baptist Church that they do not have, the Southern Baptist Convention does not have a database of offenders and allegations even. And so we were talking and decided, why don't we just do it? Is there a reason we couldn't do it? Obviously, we had to consider legal things and all of that, but we decided we were just going to go ahead and do it ourselves and make it like a grassroots effort. We put in what we could find that was already available. We put in all of our pastors. We put in what was available from the, I can't think of the one that did the big story. Ashley, help me.
Oh, the Houston Chronicle.
Thank
For the,
you. It
yeah,
wasn't coming to me. It wasn't coming
yeah.
to me. Yeah. We entered the Houston Chronicle information. Krista Brown had an older database that she kept, but it wasn't being kept current. But we used whatever she had. The Preacher Boys had a database of independent fundamental Baptists. We actually don't have all those in yet, but we're working on that. And anything that we could find, we put in. But our goal, our vision for this was other people can enter things. So we have an entry form on BaptistAccountability.org that if you know of any abusers, even allegations within a Baptist church, it does not have to be Southern Baptist, and it can be, we're pretty open about what we accept, although we do try to keep it somewhat limited to some Baptist connection of some kind, just because we're only two people and keeping up with it's a lot. So we really are hoping, and we've had a lot of people send in entries. We're hoping as it becomes more well known that people will make better use of it. And then, churches, it's there for churches if they're checking backgrounds for, hiring. Or if you just want to see, is there anybody at your church? I also want to mention, I never want this to be a false sense of security, because I'm sure what we have, which is over 600 now, I am sure that it's not the tip of the iceberg. So, because we're not very well known yet. And yeah, I'm really
Wow.
hoping that it takes off more. So that's kind of how we got involved in that. We do some other things in advocacy. We have another website called churchtrauma.com or .org, sorry. That is more our stories. Dom has blogged about our cult experience there. I have some poetry there, things like that. It's more personal. Yeah, so, and I'm very active online, as many people might know. I just enjoy screaming at the top of my lungs all day, every day on social media, because it feels empowering to me, and it feels like raising awareness, and, it burns in me.
Wow. I've heard your story a couple times before, and every time I'm just so impressed and amazed. I know that you came from a conservative background. You homeschooled your children, and I think a lot of times people put mothers in that environment in a box. But what you've really done is you have seen some of the underbelly of a lot of what happens in conservative churches where abuse comes to play. And now you are leveraging your voice along with your husband, Dom, to create this amazing database to track predators and people accused in the Baptist church. And yeah, you are a voice online, and you've called attention to things, and social media really is the way to get the message out. And I think hearing your story, watching you over the last couple of years blossom into this powerful advocate, and I would even say advocate team with your husband, you all do so many things together. Being able to witness that really is one of the big reasons that we wanted to bring you on to this project with Courage 365. And everybody, I would like to share with you a project that we are partnering with Megan about, and it is called Courage Clubs. You are going to have the opportunity to join Courage Clubs. You may have started to see some advertisements about it on social media, but Courage Clubs at their very base, at the very core, are online peer support groups for abuse survivors. This is an 18 plus group, people who have left abuse and are now trying to find that healing path for themselves, people who are on that journey, self-discovery of learning what happened to them, of finding healing tips and tools. And one of the things that we have found here at Courage 365 is that community is everything. After you leave abuse, after you get that professional help from a therapist or something such as that, there's this need to have community. And, I think, Megan, maybe you can even speak to that, but as you left the different toxic churches, you left pretty much the only community that you had in many cases. And was it important to you to find a community of like-minded people?
Oh my goodness, yes. And it was so hard, to find. Thankfully, I found you. That was a big part of finding community. It took a while really to get our bearings, and we really felt so incredibly isolated. And it's one thing to have community. It's another thing also to have community that understands what you've been through. Because, especially when you come out of that, for a lot of people, for us anyway, it's all we wanted to talk about. You just need to like say it 1,000 times, and, and people who haven't been through it are like, oh my word, would you shut up already? But you need people that get that and will hear it and be like, oh, I feel that. Yes, I did. I went through that. I know what you mean, makes such a difference to have people who are really there with you and willing to listen and have been through similar experiences. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I know that was true for me. I knew that was true for you. And honestly, as a nonprofit, we have found that that is the thing that people are asking for the most. We've actually received several different emails, letters asking for a peer support group. And so we knew that you would be the right fit for this because you have your own experiences. You are very sensitive and compassionate, and you are a fierce advocate. And for everyone listening, Courage Clubs are going to kind of happen like this. So they will be a 1-hour online support group that is going to happen the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. And we're actually starting the first one. Megan is going to be facilitating and leading this. It's going to be on June 1st, which is the first Wednesday of the month. And some support groups, when you show up, you're kind of expected to just tell about your day and maybe dive deep into your trauma and to talk about that. And there's a space for you to do that if you want to. But what we have found is that a lot of times survivors don't feel comfortable doing that right away. They want to engage with a supportive community, but they like to engage in a way that they're not having to give out too many personal details before they're ready. So the way we've formatted this is we've actually created a facilitator's guide for Megan and any future facilitators. And what you'll be doing is you will be going through a quote unquote lesson together. So Megan will be reading off a lesson. There'll be a new topic every month. The first topic is about power and control and equality. She'll be reading some information about that, understanding some abuse dynamics. There will be resources, tips included, and then a discussion question time. And you can feel free to talk about your personal experiences in that discussion question time, or just simply engage with the content that you've learned that evening. So it's completely no pressure. You get to share whatever you want to, or if you want to just kind of sit back and listen for the first couple of meetings, that is totally okay as well. A couple of things that we have done to do our best to ensure safety of the group is we have some group guidelines that everybody will agree to at the beginning to keep your privacy safe. Megan has passed a background check with flying colors. We have watched Megan over the years and seen how great she is with survivors. And this is not just for survivors of church-based abuse. If you have experienced abuse in general and you're now an adult on your healing journey, a lot of these topics cover just really a broad spectrum of abuse. And it's not just for women, it's for men too. We encourage anyone who wants to come to be able to participate. It's a 1 monthly commitment, and you can sign up, and we'll talk about how you can do that, but just going to courage365.org/clubs. That's courage365.org/clubs. And all you have to do is sign up with your email address. From there, you'll be given some more directions. We'll give you the topics that we're going to be focusing on, as well as the private Zoom link with a passcode, so we make sure that it's as secure as we possibly can make it. And then Megan's just going to be guiding you through that. And my vision for this is really just to see a community of people coming together to be able to share experiences, to be able to share wisdom, to be able to interact on this topic and feel less alone, because you're really not alone, but it can feel that way if you're not in a committed group of others who are on their healing journey as well. So, Megan, I wanted to kind of ask you, I pitched this idea of Courage Clubs to you, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I was just curious, like, what was your first thought when you heard about the idea?
Oh, I was very excited about it. Was very honored that you asked me, honestly. I just felt like, really? But I also thought, wow, what a great opportunity and what a great idea to, get survivors together talking. I know that there isn't a lot available, it seems sometimes. I mean, it's, hard to find a right fit sometimes when you need that support. So I thought it was just a phenomenal idea. And I'm really, really glad that you asked me.
Well, we're glad that we asked you too. And, as we've been kind of discussing together the different parts of it, I mean, there's the reading, that'll be sort of like the quote unquote lesson. There's the discussion part. There'll be obviously the community sense. I'm curious, whether it's things that I mentioned or things that we've talked about previously, is there something in particular that you're like, this really excites me, this part of it, or how it's laid out maybe differently than other groups you've heard of?
Yes, yes. I think that was the strength to me, was that there would be a curriculum, there would be something to talk about, to like, focus on and learn. I know that when we came out, really it took till we came out of this last thing to really learn because we thought we had learned things over the years, but obviously not enough. And
We're all
because
on a journey.
we're
It's
all on a
layers upon
journey.
layers.
And now I feel like this time we were like, all right, we're learning whatever we possibly can about this and how to not let this happen again. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the learning part, about the research I know you've done and the other people who are writing the curriculums in their expertise, um, and that you really have approached people that are, pretty much experts in their field that they're writing about. Um, I don't know. I think that's what I'm most excited about. I'm sure I'm going to learn new things too. So
Well, I know I am as well, because I will be writing some of the curriculum, but there are other experts, like you said. And I don't know, it's just great when you can have somebody sort of in their zone of genius, the area that they really excel in, kind of teach a group and then be able to have a discussion. And I'm just kind of flipping through the little facilitator's guide. Some cool things that people can be looking forward to is, after each Courage Club, you will automatically be sent that reading or lesson, whatever you want to call it, to your email. So you can kind of digest it, read over it again if you want to. Or if something had come up and you missed that week, then you'll still be able to get in on the content. There's also a bunch of different resources. Like for this first one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 different resources that are linked to, and several of them, it comes with different free gifts that you can download. So we've really tried to make this something where, yes, there's the once a month meeting, but then there's also things that people can access afterwards if they want to go deeper, and really kind of bring what they're learning throughout the whole month and kind of carry them over to the next month. So I'm super excited about that. And like I mentioned before, there is a list of guidelines that everybody agrees to follow, just to kind of make it a safer environment. Of course, nothing can be completely safe. We all have triggers, and so we can't 100% guarantee you won't ever experience a trigger, but we're doing our best to reduce that as much as possible. And I thought I would just read a couple of the things on the group guidelines, just so you can kind of know how we're setting this up. So one of the guidelines is, these groups are confidential, and what is said in here stays here. And we go on to explore, what that looks like a little bit. But that's really a value, is when you come into the group, these are not recorded meetings. These are meetings where you're able to show up, you're able to express yourself in the ways that feel comfortable, have people honor that in the space, but know that it's going to stay there. It's a space where one of our guidelines is you can share as much as you feel comfortable. So you don't have to feel like you're showing up to these meetings and all of a sudden you have to like give your whole life story. Now, if different things come up that you want to share personally, we welcome that because it's a space where you can do that. But if you're a little bit, unsure of yourself, it's not a share or die situation. It's not a share or die. We talk about not really giving advice, but more kind of learning and exploring together. So this is not a substitute for therapy or working with a professional, but it's something really different where you're working with peers who are going through the same things. And there's so much value in working with a professional therapist. I don't want to discount that at all. But there's another level of community when it's people who get it and are on the same journey as you. Therapists usually don't share their own journeys. So it just gives another dynamic like that. There's, several other things. We are trying to be as inclusive as possible in our language with race, sex, gender, different orientations, and just trying to welcome people into this space no matter how they identify, because abuse doesn't discriminate. It does not discriminate. Anybody can experience it, and we want to create, as much as we can, a nurturing space. So that's a little bit about the Courage Clubs that are coming up. And, maybe one more question about the clubs and your kind of perspective. If you had to think about a survivor who is like on the fence about joining, maybe they're a little bit nervous, what advice might you give to them in kind of making a decision about that, or maybe easing some of their fears?
I think you covered a lot of it, that we are going to try to be as accepting as possible. We're really working hard about eliminating triggers as much as possible. Again, we can't know everyone's, but you're always welcome to step away if you need to. So if you join and you did feel uncomfortable, it's okay to step away. And again, we will not push you to talk at all. If that's not your thing and you just want to be there, totally fine with us. If you like to talk, we might have to rein you in. I'm a talker, so I get that. So really, I mean, whatever your personality, whatever your experience, I'm sure, we'll do our best to make it a very safe environment. And I'm sure that someone in the group you always feel alone in these situations. I mean, I know when ours first happened and we had our USA Today story, I almost felt like, oh my word, this hasn't ever happened to anyone else in the whole world. This is crazy. Come to find out, this is like super, super common.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been through it. And, so I think that's a positive, is that you'll find out that you aren't alone and other people have been through these horrendous experiences, and will be able to relate to you. And yeah, I think just try it. Yeah.
That's
We'll
good.
do our best to be welcoming.
I love that so much. That's so comforting. And I know, I wish that a group like this had been around, and I wish a facilitator like you had been around when I was first going through discovering, like just understanding really what had happened to me. And so I'm just so excited to have people come into your energy, because I don't know, you just vibrate light and love and kind of this nurturing energy, and I really think people are going to feel real comfortable with you. And kind of on that note about triggers, that's actually something I forgot to mention, but before each reading, before each lesson, there's actually a trigger warning that we read. And so it kind of gives you an idea of what the topic is and what things are going to be discussed, just so you can not be caught off guard, because sometimes that's the scary thing. And so again, we can't promise perfection, but what we can promise is that we're doing our best to try to make this feel as nurturing, helpful, and connective as possible. So I know Megan's going to do a great job, and you're totally going to want to sign up for this. You're not going to want to miss out on this group. But switching gears really quick, Megan, you have had so many experiences in your lifetime. You've learned so much. You've grown and healed in just ways that blow my mind, honestly. And I was wondering if you had to think back to what was one of the best pieces of advice you ever received, or one of those pieces of advice that you're just like, wow, this really stuck with me?
I think it was from you, actually, although I'm not 100% sure because I've learned so much that I tend to forget where it came from, but I'm assuming this one came from you because it has to do with intuition. And I think so many of us who have survived abuse of any kind have really been disconnected from our intuition in a big way. And what important work you're doing in that respect, too, of helping people reconnect to their intuition and their bodies and not feeling so indecisive. And, it really builds self-confidence. And along that line, the piece of advice, and again, I think it came from you, you can let me know, was if you're trying to make a decision and you don't know, usually if you're in fight or flight or things, you're really like, nothing, you rationalize everything. And what way do I turn? I don't know what to do. To say to yourself, what would I do if nothing could go wrong? If I could only succeed, what decision would I make? And for me, I don't know, that has been a huge help in trying to sort out. Sometimes, you think, sometimes you get your fear confused with your intuition. And fear is an important thing to take note of because it can warn us of danger. But so many times when you're an abuse survivor, everything is a threat. You're in constant hypervigilance, and you just feel like, oh my gosh, if I make the wrong decision, I'm going to get hurt again. And there's just so many things coming at you all the time. It's really hard to sort that out. And I really love that advice. If I couldn't fail, what decision would I make? And yes, weigh the danger, but if the danger isn't a present, for sure danger, maybe it's worth taking the risk and making the decision that could lead to an amazing outcome. Like that, but it might be amazing. And I think following that for the past year or two has changed so much for me. Yeah, it's just really allowed me to go for it in a lot of areas. The things I in the past, oh my goodness, I was so not confident. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yeah, I think that was inside my intuition mastery course,
I
and
thought so.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that I use a lot of times too. So I'm so glad that it's really helpful for you. And
been
I
so
have seen your confidence just go sky high in the last couple years that I've known you, and I'm just thankful for that. And I also think that that's one reason why you're the perfect person to be a facilitator for Courage Clubs, is because you have gone through all these different stages of experiencing abuse, of really kind of understanding what happened, going on your healing journey, and now just being like this force for good and helping other people. And I love that so much. And Megan, where can people find you online? Talk about your websites again so people can be in touch with you.
Sure. Okay, our websites are baptistaccountability.org. It's all one word, no dashes or anything, just baptistaccountability.org. And then our personal website is churchtrauma.org. And again, all one word, churchtrauma.org. And then I am very, very active on Facebook, a little bit on Twitter, but more so on and Instagram. I'm all the places. I actually don't have in front of me all of my handles, but on Facebook, I'm under Megan South, like the direction, Benninger. And I also have a page there for Baptist Accountability, is on Facebook. Twitter, I believe my handle is at Megan Benninger. But if you search for me, I'll probably come up. And there it is at B. I believe it's at B Accountability. Just B Accountability on.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I should have that in front of me, but if you search, it should come up. And then Instagram. If you want to find me on there, I'm not super active on there, but Facebook is my thing. So it's old people land.
No, I love it. You really know how to leverage Facebook for good, and I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll include those links. And yeah, thank you so much, Megan, for being here today. It's really been awesome having you. Yes, absolutely. And everybody who has tuned in, thank you so much for your time. You can find us at Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, we're on Twitter as well. But what I'd specifically like to invite you to right now is to actually join the Courage Clubs. So the Courage Clubs, like I said, are every first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up completely free at courage365.org/clubs, and you'll see that at the screen below there. We would love to have you come. It's one of those things where I think it would be great if you came to every meeting, but even if you can't make the first one, but you want to check out the second one or the fifth one, you know, just sign up so you can get on that list so you can know when everything is happening. It has been so great to see you all. I'm excited about season 3 of Courage Conversations. We've got so many other guests, and I just want to encourage you to live with courage.